Hi, I'm Dédé Wilson. You can find me and my recipes at bakepedia.com. Today I'm going to show you how to make a cake out of my birthday cake book. This is a flourless cake, and by far the most popular kind of flourless cake is chocolate. This has just 3 ingredients: chocolate, butter, and eggs. It's super easy. You want to start off with 1 pound of semi-sweet chocolate. This chocolate is a 55%. You can go up to about a 60% semi-sweet chocolate, and then you're going to need 2 sticks of butter. I like to melt these together in the microwave. So if you can start with a large microwavable bowl, it's going to give you, it's going to be easier, and it's going to give you easier cleanup at the end. The other thing you need is 6 large eggs. And you want these to be room temperature. If you forget, and you take them out of the fridge and they're cold, you could warm them up in a bowl of warm water before you're ready to start. And other than that, an 8-inch round pan. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is get these melting together in the microwave and also preheat my oven to 375. While we're melting the butter and chocolate, we're going to get our eggs whipping. So as I said, large eggs. Always pay attention to the size eggs that are called for in a recipe. It'll typically say large when it comes to baking recipes. So if a baking recipe does not specify large and it just says 6 eggs, assume large. But believe me, there's a huge difference between medium eggs, large, jumbo, so you want to use the size eggs that are called for. I have my balloon whip attachment here. We're just going to whip these on high speed and wait till you see how they trickle in volume. This is what you're looking for. They've tripled in volume, they're thick and fluffy, and this is exactly what we want. The chocolate and butter are melted together. And like I said, I like to do this in the microwave because it makes for easier cleanup afterwards. You could certainly do this in the top of a double boiler as well. So once they're melted, just want to whisk the melted butter and chocolate together so it's nice and smooth. And then you can see I used a bowl that's big enough so that we can fold the eggs into the chocolate butter mixture. First, what we're going to do is prep our pan. This is an 8-inch pan. I'm going to spray the inside and the bottom and the sides with a pan coating. I like a plain oil coating, not the kind that has the flour added. And this is an 8-inch piece of parchment that's been cut to fit. Usually comes on a roll or in sheets, and you'll just have to cut out an 8-inch round. And then just spritz that a little bit. That's now ready to go. We're going to add the eggs to the chocolate in a few different batches. And the thing is that, look at this, the fluffiness of the eggs. We have all this volume in the eggs, and we want to try to retain it. So even though I do switch to a spatula, I start by incorporating the eggs with the whisk. We'll do this in 3 or 4 batches. And each time, you see, I'm not worried about the eggs being completely added. I'm just getting them mostly added in. And then, at the very end, I switch to a spatula. It really helps to have different size spatulas. This is a really big one, which is great because this is a lot of batter, and it'll help me fold in the ingredients better than if it were a smaller spatula. So at this point, I do want to get the eggs completely folded in, and the way you're going to know is this chocolate batter will be evenly colored. There won't be any streaks left. So chocolate, butter, and eggs. That's it. Whenever you have a recipe that just has so few ingredients, you want to make sure that all the ingredients are top notch, good quality. So we have unsalted butter that's fresh. We have the large eggs, as I mentioned, and you want to use a chocolate that you love the taste of. And that's it. This is our flourless chocolate cake batter. We're ready to pour into our pan. One of the things I love about this cake is that because it's so rich and moist, there's nothing to really dry out. This is one of the few cakes that you can keep in the fridge for several days and it will stay as fresh as the day you made it, which is great for holidays. So if you're entertaining on the weekends, you've got a birthday coming up or something like that, you could do this anytime during the week, even on a Monday or a Tuesday, whenever you have time. You need to create a water bath, and so you just need a pan, any kind of roasting pan that your cake pan fits into, and then hot tap water, as hot as it can be, and I'm going to fill it up about So it comes halfway up the pan. Now this is ready to go into a 375 oven for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. So after about 15 to 20 minutes, I'm going to show you what you want to look for. I'll bring this to the top of the stove. It's baked in its water bath. Now, this is not going to look like any cake you're used to baking. This is basically like a warmed over pudding. Look at that. But I want you to look at the sides of the cake where they meet the pan. See how they're coming away from the sides of the pan? That's how we tell it's done. It's a little dull on the top and it's pulling away from the sides of the pan. But believe me, if you stuck a toothpick in here like you would with a regular cake, it would come out completely wet. So you have to use the dullness and the tilt trick. This is now done. I'll let it cool to room temp, cover it with plastic wrap, and refrigerate it at least overnight. So we've chilled this at least overnight, but as I said, this cake is so great. You can make it ahead. You could even have had it sitting in the refrigerator for 3 or 4 days. Look how firm it is. So it doesn't come out of the pan, so we have some tricks to show you how to get it out of the pan. The first trick involves warm water. So I'm going to run some warm water on the bottom of the pan. Take an icing spatula, run it around the edge. And then the third thing you need, in addition to the water and the icing spatula, is an 8-inch cardboard round. These are very typically found in bakeries, and you can find them at craft stores. And you just get an 8-inch round because we have an 8-inch pan. And now, with a little bit of, you have to just break the suction. There we go. And it's going to come right out. There's that piece of parchment that we had on the bottom. Peel it right off. Voila. Now we're going to add a beautiful chocolate glaze to our flourless chocolate cake. So we have the cake unmolded, it's on the cardboard round, and we have it on a rack, and you'll see why that's going to come in handy in a moment. This is a very simple combination of melted chocolate and cream called a ganache, and you can find videos for how to make a ganache as well. I've put the ganache glaze in a pitcher because it's just easier to apply it to the cake. You want to pour it towards the center of the cake, spiral out, and just put a generous amount of glaze over the top of the cake. Then you want to help it flow over the sides. You could use a spatula to help you with this, but then you would have marks from the spatula, so it's better if you can do it without touching the surface of the glaze. And this is why we have it on a rack, because we can actually collect that extra glaze that's pooling on the pan under the rack, and we can scrape it up and use it again. This glaze, by the way, could make a great chocolate sauce for ice cream, so it's very versatile. Just going to touch it up a little bit in the few areas that it didn't get covered. And at this point, we just want to chill it to set the glaze, and that's it. Now we're going to refrigerate this until the glaze sets, which will take at least an hour, if not 2. So our flourless chocolate cake with its beautiful glaze has chilled, so the glaze is set. And you could certainly serve it as is, but I'm going to show you a really quick way to make it extra special. This, in this little dish, is gold powder. This is edible gold powder. Just comes in tiny little containers, and you can get it from better cake decorating supplies. And I'm going to turn it into a paint. I'm going to dissolve it and make it into a paint consistency by using a little bit of almond extract. Now I'm using almond extract because it's clear, and you need the alcohol content in order to dissolve the powder. You could also use vodka, and then you just stir it around, and there's no proportion here. All you're trying to do, see this is still a little thick, all you're trying to do is get a consistency that would be good for painting. We're literally going to paint a design on top of the cake. So I'm just going to go freeform. And the glaze is set, so I can paint on it with this gold. You could obviously do whatever you like. You could write happy birthday on it. You could put a person's name, depending on how artistic you are. You could draw flowers or hearts or really anything. Look at that. easy, easy. As I said earlier, the cake is a great keeper. There's nothing to dry out, so it stays really moist. You could even decorate it 2 or 3 days before you're gonna serve it. Then when it's time to serve, let's just go in here so I can show you the inside. I mean, really, this is like a truffle. It's like a deep, dark truffle. Look at that. Flourless chocolate cake. I know this is gonna sound crazy, but the cake is so rich, you need a little dollop of whipped cream on the side. This actually lightens it up a little bit. Look at this elegant flourless chocolate cake. And all it was 3 ingredients for the cake, 2 ingredients for the glaze, and a little whipped cream on the side. You'll be able to whip this up effortlessly, and you'll love this cake in your repertoire. You will use it again and again. You can find this recipe in my book, The Birthday Cake Book, and you can find all of my recipes at bakepedia.com, the baker's resource.